Welcome back to The Hit, everyone. I'm Zach Higgins. And today, like I mentioned in all my social media posts over the week, we have a special guest returning to the show today. We're not going to see him right now. We're going to see him towards the end of the show. But I want to take this time to officially welcome back the man, the myth, the legend, Andrew Boniface. He will be back with us today. He's going to be going over some of the top games coming up this weekend in the NFL, giving us his score breakdowns, his predictions, what to look out for. So make sure you stay tuned until the end of the episode for that. Boni, so happy to have you back. We'll get to you in a second. But first, we're going to go into the top story of Wednesday by far. Travis Hunter is the number one rated high school recruit in football right now. Today is early signing day. This Wednesday is early signing day. Travis Hunter, for the last year and a half, was committed to Florida State. Today, he flipped his commitment. And he didn't just flip it to another big-time Division I school. He flipped it to Jackson State. For people who do not know who Jackson State is an HBCU, and their head coach is Deion Sanders, primetime, who are just coming off a championship. They just won a championship. Now, this is a huge deal for a lot of reasons. Deion Sanders, when he took that job at Jackson State, said he was going to put HBCUs back on the map. And he has done that just by his team performing well. You know, they had a COVID-shortened year. They did really well. They only lost 2 games a year ago. This year, they went undefeated and won the championship at that level. And now on signing day, you're taking the number one rated recruit out of all the high school players in the country, and you're flipping him from actually your alma mater. Deion Sanders went to Florida State. He flipped Travis Hunter from his alma mater to his new school, Jackson State. And it's not uncommon for big-time recruits to flip. It's not like it's a huge deal. It happens. Sometimes you get a change of heart right at the last minute. It's very common. But this never happens. This is a very rare occurrence for the top player in the country to go to a HBCU. It's incredible. And it's awesome for Travis Hunter. Congrats to him. I'm sure he's going to love playing for Prime. It's a big win for Jackson State. It's a big win for Deion Sanders. He is doing exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to put HBCUs back on the map. And you've seen some of these schools do that. Deion Sanders at Jackson State. Now you have Eddie George coaching at Tennessee State. Actually, a buddy of mine who I played at Hartford with, Malik, his brother just committed to Tennessee State to play for Eddie George. And that's awesome. HBCUs are quickly getting back on the map. Actually, Manute Maker just committed a year ago to Howard, big-time basketball recruit. HBCUs are quickly gaining traction as legitimate college football venues, college basketball venues. It's incredible, and it's awesome because the thing is, back in the 60s and 70s, a lot of the talent that was going into the NFL was coming from HBCUs. Most of that was because of segregation and certain schools not being willing to take African-American players. So you had guys getting drafted in the first couple rounds from Jackson State, Tennessee State, Grambling, schools like that. I mean, think about Walter Payton, HBCU, Ed Tuchel Jones, HBCU, Robert Brazile, HBCU. So it's awesome to see that those schools now are gaining traction again to being legitimate college sports venues. Now, if you look at it on the flip side, for Florida State and head coach Mike Norvell, who's going into his second year, this is a killer. This is an absolute killer. Travis Hunter is a phenomenal player, and having him in your recruiting class for the last year and a half has been huge for building back up your respect because you haven't had a lot of respect over the years. You've really fallen on some hard times. And for him to flip like this on signing day, that's a tough break, man. That is a tough break. Mike Norvell is proving right now that he was not the right hire for this job. They did horrible last year. They started the season 0-4, and now you're losing the top recruit. That's a tough break. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that program moving forward, but Jackson State is on the up and up. They're a legitimate college football threat, and I expect them to go undefeated for the next couple of years. Because now you have Travis Hunter in the fold with all those other great players. You also have, by the way, both of Deion Sanders' sons on the team. One's a defensive back, Shiloh, and Shador is your starting quarterback. So they're an exciting team to watch. If you haven't watched them yet, make sure you watch them next fall. And Florida State, I wouldn't watch them next fall because they're garbage. And this doesn't help their case either. Moving on now to the NFL, I want to talk about something on a sadder note. I'm sure everybody saw the news coming out late last week. Demaryius Thomas, former Pro Bowl Broncos receiver, all-pro receiver, died at the age of 33 on Thursday night. And, you know, it's one of those things, like, it's obviously very shocking, but seeing that pop up on my phone on Thursday night was horrible. It's horrifying to see. Because, you know, he's always been a great guy. He's one of those receivers. He wasn't a prima donna wide receiver. He was a very hardworking, productive wide receiver. You know, and think about all the reaction that came out on social media from guys like Emmanuel Sanders, who said, you know, DT's my best friend, and I love him. I can't believe this, and I miss him. You know, CJ Anderson, who's the running back on that Super Bowl 50 team with DT. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, 2 quarterbacks that he played with. It's horrible. It's horrible to see. And not to mention, you know, besides the fact that he was a great player, I mean, almost 10,000 receiving yards, 63 touchdowns, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl winner. Those are great statistics. Those are great accolades. But the person that he was, you know, the reception or the response out of Denver. So people are going to miss this man. And it's horrible to see. And, you know, you never want to lose anybody young, but to lose this man at 33 is just, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I'm at a loss for words. I really don't know what else to say, but I really wanted to bring that up because he was a pleasure to watch on Sundays, and we're going to miss him. We're really going to miss him. So just, if you get a second, hug your loved ones. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. So, DT, Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace, man. All glory to you. So, but I don't know, it's a tough subject to talk about, you know, because, you know, you want to be able to acknowledge the person that he was as well as the athlete. But it's so hard to talk about because thinking about losing somebody like that, someone who was a very healthy early 30s individual, you can't fathom it. You can't fathom it. So to see that, it's just sad. We'll leave that. It's a very sad day in the sports world. On a happier note, in the NBA Tuesday night, Stephen Curry broke the all-time career three-point record, beat Ray Allen in the Garden, which is pretty cool. That's very cool. All the big moments seem to happen in the Garden. I got to get to a game there. So someday I'm now close enough to New York City where I can get to a game in the Garden. I will be in the Garden. Hope maybe playing the Nets. That'd be huge. But Steph Curry has now broken the all-time three-point record set by Ray Allen. Ray Allen was in attendance at the game too, so that was a pretty cool moment to see them embrace when he broke the record. But the significance of Steph Curry in the NBA all-time is unbelievable when you think about it. Steph Curry has completely changed the way NBA teams go about doing their business. Seriously. When Steph Curry entered the league in 2009, the NBA was not how it is today. It was a lot of mid-range jumpers and like how Carmelo Anthony used to play. A lot of the NBA was like that. Steph Curry comes into the league and just made everything a three-point shootout. You know, if you look at a shot chart for most NBA teams, all your shots are coming from around the three-point line, inside the paint, at the free throw line. 99% of your points are coming that way. So now NBA teams have to now build around guys who can shoot the lights out of the ball, guys who can finish tough inside, guys who can get to the line. Guys like, James Harden. Guys like Trae Young. That's because of Steph. And both of those guys are talented players in their own right. James Harden came into the league at the same time, but Steph Curry has completely changed the way the NBA works. And it's pretty cool to watch one player revolutionize a sport that's been around for 100 years. It's pretty incredible. So, Steph, congrats to you, man. Say hi to your mom for me. Oh my gosh. She's hot. She's hot, guys. The last thing I want to talk about today, before I kick it over to the man, Boni, is I want to talk about something I've talked about a few times before, and that is the Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence debate, whatever you want to call it. And I've written about this for Re-Rack, and I've talked about this on the show. In October and November, when the Jets didn't have any wins last year, and Buster and now I can't think of his name. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna think of it. Give me 1 sec, I'll think of it. But the guy from Outside the Lines talking about how Trevor Lawrence should say, "I don't want to go to the New York Jets because why should I? They suck." Who was it? Jeremy Schaap. Jeremy Schaap from Outside the Lines said this, that Trevor Lawrence, because the Jets are so bad, he should refuse to go to the Jets. He should pull an Eli Manning. He should pull a John Elway and say, "Screw it, I'm not going to the Jets." And I just want Jeremy Schaap and all those guys who agreed with him to look at the state of the Jacksonville Jaguars right now and how horrible they are. First of all, look at the coach in Jacksonville. Urban Meyer, horrible hire. And I could have called that from the moment they hired him. I'm almost happy that the Jets didn't get the number 1 pick because we wouldn't have been stuck with that man. I was stuck with Adam Gase for 2 years. We all were. So I'm happy that we don't have Urban Meyer at this point. That franchise is just in shambles. But, of course, they're in Jacksonville, Florida, not the media mecca of the world, so nobody cares. Nobody hears about it. So maybe, in retrospect, yeah, congrats, Trevor. You're not in New York. You don't have the pressure that Zach Wilson has. But you didn't hear a word come out of Jeremy Schaap and all those reporting guys from ESPN, NFL Network, whatever, saying, "Oh, it's Jacksonville. He should pull an Elway. He shouldn't go to Jacksonville." And I get how bad the Jets have been. I know how incompetent the Jets are. But also, the common draft era has been around since 1967, okay? The NFL draft has been around since 1937. Every single time, the worst team gets the right to pick the best player. That's how it works. That's why there is parity in the NFL. That's what makes it so great. So for you to come out just because the Jets might get the number 1 overall pick and say the Jets don't deserve that pick, we should never reward losing in America because we don't want this guy to go to the Jets. We shouldn't reward losing. Excuse my language, that's bullshit, Mr. Schaap. That's bullshit. The worst team gets the right to pick the player that they want first. That's how it works. What are you going to do? Put them at the end of the order? Let them continue to suck? I mean, they probably would suck anyway, no matter what, because they're the Jets, and I get it. But how do you want that to work? They earn the right to get the number 1 pick by losing all those games. But you got lucky. The Jaguars got the pick instead. And the Jaguars have been horrible this year, even worse than the Jets. Urban Meyer has been a horrible coach. The way he runs that offense is so strange. The fact that Carlos Hyde is outpacing James Robinson in touches at this point in the year is a travesty. And I get, and Urban Meyer is like playing it like college. He's owing, he's respecting the upperclassmen, guys that's played for him before. Carlos Hyde played for Urban Meyer at Ohio State. So he's given Carlos Hyde too much credit. James Robinson is a stud. Him not getting the ball is ridiculous. And Trevor Lawrence called out the coaching staff in the post-game press conference after that game last Sunday. So, man, that place is garbage. They need to do something in Jacksonville. And on the flip side, I get how poorly Zach Wilson has played this year. But if you look at their stats, they're pretty similar. Zach has 6 touchdowns, Trevor Lawrence has 9. They both have the same amount of interceptions. Zach Wilson has 1 more games than Trevor Lawrence, by the way. Actually, no, same amount of games. I'm sorry, 2-2. The Jets have 3. But also, Zach Wilson has missed 4 games. The Jets had to play with Mike White, Jets legend Mike White, and Joe Flacco for a few games. And the Jets team, they just have nobody around him. I mean, they have Elijah Moore, who's been a revelation this year. They have Michael Carter, revelation this year. 2 rookies. On the offensive side of the ball, they have 2 young stud rookies, and I'm so excited for it. The Jets have never had players like this. The left side of their offensive line next year will be legit. Mekhi Becton, Elijah Vera Tucker on the left side. Okay? So you have something there. You definitely don't have everything. everything. You look at the Jaguars receiving core is pretty solid. Marvin Jones, DJ Shark, Laviska Shenault. 3 solid wide receivers. James Robinson, stud running back. They should be doing so much better in Jacksonville. I'm sorry. And maybe this is a little bit of bias. Maybe it's a little bit of bias. But the Jacksonville Jaguars should be doing much better than the Jets should be doing. They're not. They're doing worse. So people want to come out and say, don't go to New York. It's a dumpster fire. I get it. But if the Jets had earned that number 1 pick and they wanted Trevor Lawrence, they had the right to take Trevor Lawrence. They did. And listen, if people have been listening to my shows for a long time, since we started, I've been an outspoken Zach Wilson critic. And I will support him until the day he is no longer a Jet. And even past that, I will support that guy because he's my quarterback. I didn't want him in the pre-draft process. I did prefer Fields. And how that's going to shake out in the next 5 years, I don't know. But I preferred Fields over Wilson. He's got to step it up as well. He's got to step it up. And hopefully in year 2, the Jets get some more pieces around him. They have enough of cap space and picks to build around Zach Wilson. I believe in Joe Douglas. I believe in Robert Saleh. I have no reason not to believe in Zach Wilson. Year 2 hopefully is better for the Jets. Probably not because of the Jets. What are you going to do? But all I want to say, I'm just going to leave it at this. The NFL media hates the New York Jets for no reason. They hate them because they're in the biggest market. So what? They're in the biggest market. That's where they are. I know they've been horrible, but you've seen the NFL media just publicize all these teams that have been horrible over the years because they want to root for the little guy, like Detroit or Cleveland or Jacksonville for that matter. But they just hate on the Jets all the time. They just hate on the Jets. Just stop hating on the Jets. We have to suffer enough, all right? We suffer enough. But that's kind of how I'm going to leave the show today because I'm going to kick it over to Boni in just about 2 seconds. But before I do, I want to mention one thing. If people can see my shirt, President Woodward from the University of Hartford, you suck, man. You suck. I wanted to wear that for you today because of that lawsuit. There's a lawsuit pending at the University of Hartford about mold being in all the dorms and all the village apartments, like the ones I lived in last year. That lawsuit is absolutely right and just because it happened. There's mold in those apartments, in those dorm rooms. We had broken pipes for the entire year in my apartment at Hartford. Boni can attest to that. My other roommate, Chucky, can attest to that. So I loved Hartford. You ruined it, pal. You ruined it. That's where we're going to leave me off today. Thank you for watching The Hit. I'm now going to take you over to Andrew Boniface, the man. Boni, take it away.
What's up, everyone? I'm obviously really honored to be back on the pod with Higgins again. It's been a while. Obviously, this is kind of his baby and his brain trust, so I'm obviously really honored, really excited to be back on the podcast, and really just looking forward to it, and promoting, making content, doing all that jazz, back at it again. Obviously, we got the end of the NFL season coming up, so I'm just going to cover a couple games real quick. First one's the game tomorrow night between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously, we haven't been on here, but I would have had a lot of bad takes about the Chiefs early in the season, especially with how poor their defense has been. But however, since pretty much week 5, week 6, they've been on a tear, just terrorizing teams. Pretty much after that Raiders win on Sunday Night Football, they've been fantastic. Patrick Mahomes has seemed to have found his rhythm with his offense, and they've really been playing a lot better, especially on the defensive side of the ball. With the Chargers, you never really know what you're going to get. It's kind of a mixed bag, Some weeks, you get the Justin Herbert that broke the rookie touchdown record that was set by Peyton Manning last year, and some games you get the second year kind of sophomore kind of slump Justin Herbert. So we'll see what team shows up. Obviously, it's a big game. It's a big divisional matchup in the AFC West, but I think the Chiefs are, the team that you should probably ride with. The second game I got is obviously my Green Bay Packers versus Baltimore Ravens. The big question mark in this game, to be real, is if Lamar Jackson will be healthy enough to play. Obviously, he suffered an ankle injury against the Browns last week where they have not really looked good since, that Browns game. They've really haven't found their rhythm yet, and that's kind of concerning if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan. However, this is kind of the perfect matchup for them. Although Green Bay's improved their run defense, I think they have speed, especially with Lamar and Devonta Freeman, who's been very good for him, and Duvernay and Marquise Brown, that hit him on some really big plays, which the Green Bay defense has frankly struggled with over the past couple of weeks. I mean, you saw how they played against the Bears on special teams, and they gave up some big plays in the pass game. So I expect the Ravens to kind of use their play-action pass game to really kind of hurt the Green Bay Packers. But however, I got to ride with my team. I think Aaron Rodgers has been phenomenal this season, along with Devontae and kind of that offense. Although they are dealing with a ton of injuries, so are the Ravens are, and frankly, the Green Bay Packers are a little bit healthier, so I'll take the Packers in that game. And we got a little Saturday night football as well. I think that's going to be exciting as we kick off this bowl season. I think both games are fantastic. I think first off, if you start off with the Browns and the Raiders, I think obviously the Browns are heavily injured, but as they proved last year, they can win without their head coach. But I think the loss of Baker Mayfield and Jedrick Willis will really hurt that offense, as well as Jarvis Landry, to where they'll be run dominant, and I think that gives them a really good chance to win this game. But I think the Raiders are coming off a really poor performance against the Kansas City Chiefs, and they'll look to respond in a really positive manner. I think the Raiders will come out in that game. And then we got the nightcap between the Colts and the Patriots. I think the Patriots have been a huge surprise this year, not in terms of the defense and kind of the style of play that they have, but I think Mac Jones has really asserted himself as one of the best rookie quarterbacks out of this class due to the situation that he's in, and with Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick, and that defense is playing really good ball at the moment, as they've been able to establish the run through Damian Harris. However, on the other side, you have the Colts, who Jonathan Taylor has been an absolute monster this year for them. He's really asserted himself as the best back in the whole NFL, as Derrick Henry is hurt, and really the best running back in his own division, which is pretty crazy to say with how productive he has been. I don't really trust Carson Wentz yet. Although he's improved a lot under head coach Frank Reich, I'm still not as positive or had on him, especially in the big games, because he's really, although it was early in the season, he did struggle against the Tennessee Titans. That did cost him that game. So I think the Patriots will win this game, but I think it will be really close. I think it will be really competitive. Both teams have a similar identity, but I think Bill Belichick will be able to neutralize Jonathan Taylor enough to make Carson Wentz make more plays, and frankly enough right now, I trust Mac Jones more than I trust Carson Wentz, which is kind of absurd to say, because especially over a couple of years ago when Carson Wentz was lighting up the world, putting up big numbers, and when he was a 2018 NFL MVP, doing his thing. But hey, you never know. I mean, this is the NFL. It's been pretty chaotic this season, but that's pretty much it. But obviously, I'm really honored to be back. We're gonna be crushing the podcast. I'm currently traveling back from school, so we couldn't really record live, so unfortunate, but we'll be back next week. We'll be back over a little Zoom as we go our separate ways in terms of schooling, obviously with the whole Hartford thing, but this is our way to continue to do our thing. So we'll kick it back to Higgs.